So here now to discuss the former governor of Wisconsin, Scott Walker. Governor, welcome back. So it's kind of interesting. We didn't plan it this way, but that Amazon headline came out. We were talking about these tech companies earlier, and the headline sort of from last night was, well, maybe this isn't as bad as people are saying. As I, gave the introduction to your story, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce says, well, be careful. So it's this interesting. No one really knows where we are, but the president's asking everybody to be patient. Will they?
I think so. I mean, my hope is no later than Labor Day. It'd be ideal if it was by Memorial Day, but work out these free trade agreements. I think the president's right to push for other countries to give us a better deal than we have. People talk about tariffs. Tariffs didn't happen on April 2nd. Tariffs against America have happened for quite some time. He's just trying to level the playing field. But if we could get that worked out soon, I think that, along with making the tax cuts permanent, codifying some of these amazing spending reductions of government waste, fraud, and abuse, and then moving forward with trade, I think would set the economy on fire. I think we'd be in great shape. Add that to all the promises he's made and kept in terms of securing the border, making us safe again, and cutting wasteful spending. I think he's on the right track.
So on the tax cut issue, we just played a clip from Trump at that event he had at the White House earlier. Guys, if we have that second clip, which is about taxes, let's see what he said about it today. And then I want to ask you about this, because the order of this is always interesting compared to Trump administration #1. Here's the president today.
These will be the biggest tax cuts in American history, with 100% expensing, which is something that people cannot believe they're getting. We did it in the last one, and we had the most successful economy in my first 4 years that we've ever had. It will be the biggest bill ever passed in the history of our Congress, our Senate, and Congress.
All right. It's always the biggest ever, right, with the president. But what do you make of it, Governor? Because I can hear Democrats already saying, well, we don't want to do that. It's going to make our fiscal situation worse. But at the same time, I think many Republicans are going to say, at least privately, I wish you did this first instead of the tariffs. In other words, did it like you did in your first administration.
I think it'd be a tremendous economic boom. I'm here in Dixon, Illinois. I was just over at Ronald Reagan's Boy at Home. The other day, I was out west at Ronald Reagan's ranch, where he signed, up until that time, the largest tax cut in American history. And we know what happened later in his term. We had an economic boom that went way into the 1990s. I think we could have the same thing here. The market, more than anything, wants certainty. So locking in those tax cuts, locking in the spending reductions, the government waste, fraud, and abuse he's been focused on. Don't just make it temporary, make it long-term. And then working out these trade deals. I think those things combined would be far greater than the economic boom we saw during his first term. And remember, at the end of that, before COVID, we had some of the lowest unemployment rates, particularly for categories, that we've ever seen in the history of this country. I think we get back to that.
Don't you have, there's got to be some timeline on this, though, right? I know the president says be patient, and, it's going to take a while to cut some of these deals, but, eventually get it done. But at the same time, look what other companies, I was talking about the kind of the brighter side of it with some of the tech companies, but, like GM cut its forecast. And then the economic data, okay, we had a number on manufacturing today. It was like a 5-month low. It's just contraction. That was not a good number. So sometimes, as you know, these things become self-fulfilling prophecies because people are so worried, they stop spending. So what's the timeline? The president does have to get moving here, doesn't he?
Well, I think there's a difference between large-scale employers with big inventories versus everyday consumers. We're still seeing good news, by and large, when it comes to consumers. I see it even in the shops around Wisconsin where I live. But I do think timeline, I've said all along, I thought this needed to be resolved no later than Labor Day. And again, as I mentioned before, ideally, I'd love to see even by sooner than that, by Memorial Day, by the end of this month. But the key is getting a good deal. I think we can get that way. I think the 90-day pause was a good reminder that people were coming to the table. Now we've got to see that through. And as every country that comes to the table that levels the playing field of America is not only good in that instance, it puts more and more pressure on China to do the same.
So you have a good sense of the electorate for having been the governor of a swing state like Wisconsin.
The swing state.
The swing state. Well, it really is. So where are the people on this? So, like, our numbers show that the Republicans, the base is still with Trump, which, he has a very, very strong base. And their idea, like we had a reporter going out and talking to people around the country, Brian Enton, and a lot of people told him that love Trump. They said, what we were saying, we're going to give him time. He'll figure it out. The independents, though, are starting to slip. So that's the thing. Like, then that could hurt Republicans in the midterms, right?
Well, that's why I think the key is you can't wait till next year. I know, having won 3 times in the battleground state of Wisconsin, that you can't wait until months before the election. People need to see it far in advance.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.